Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday night, December 17th, 2019, and the Sharks, oh boy, they lose a tough one 3-2 over the Desert Dogs from Arizona, who have a shiny new toy in Taylor Hall, and he contributes in this one. So, welcome to Teal Town After Dark. This is your live and air after Sharks postgame. Do this after every single game on the YouTube channel here. So, do us a favor. If you want to be part of the show, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the YouTube chat, on the page, or the app. We also tell you to follow us on the social, where it's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, and now our Discord. Just look for us on Teal Town USA. And of course, for more Sharks content, visit us at tealtownusa.com. Joining me tonight is Mr. Erik Landi. How are you?
Well, after that game, I feel a lot more stressed. That's for sure.
Yeah. Tough one to take. For sure, especially at the end there. Arizona comes in 11-4-3, one of the better road teams in the league. I think it's the second most road wins outside of the Capitals, who I think I have 15. So Taylor Hall makes his Desert Dog debut, the first time I think since Rick Nash that a number one overall pick has been traded to two teams in his career. So let's get at it. At 4:57, Soderberg gets his 10th from Keller and Schmaltz. The 11th time the Sharks give up the goal less than 5 minutes into the game. And for Soderberg, he becomes only the second Desert Dog to hit double digits, Landy. What did you take from that one?
My take is SSDD. Same shit, different day. Look, this one is on Burns. The Burns and Dillon interchange failed to pick up the forward, flying low into the slot. And as a result, he's left open, and again, it's been about a week since I've been last on, and I have been really wanting to see Burns, show me some signs of life that he's coming out of this funk. And right now, he looks lost in his own zone.
Yeah.
Well, completely lost. And you figure, well, maybe, Pete being gone and Bugner taking over the bench and trying to be a little bit more rah-rah, you figure, okay, well, maybe this might help Burns, but he looks lost. He looks like he has forgotten how to play.
And it's just maybe a bit of confidence. He was entering tonight on an 11-game pointless drought, changing a system. We definitely saw a lot more defense getting into the play offensively, too. I saw EK65 rush up with the defense. I think you even saw Tim Heed as well doing the same thing. So maybe a change in defensive philosophy could be a thing.
Yeah, look, you deploy Burns not for his defense, but for his offense, right? And right now, he is not confident with his shot. I have seen him look off. I have seen him defer to passing the puck way too often. I think it started off as maybe him shooting pucks into people's feet and getting them blocked and kind of being afraid that, it's going to spring a player who blocks it out on the breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's continuing. It looks like he's second guessing himself. I think that's the best thing to describe it as. He's taking that extra half second to make a split decision, whether he wants to pass or shoot. And when Burns is thinking, that's not generally a good thing. I don't think anybody ever called him, the the quarterback, right? He is the shooter, and him taking an extra half second is just it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
David Toscano bringing up a point about Burns. Burns is not getting
Sharknado, thank you so much for the super chat donation.
I'll get to you in just a second, Sharknado. David Toscano, Burns is not getting the puck enough to be confident.
Yeah, no, and then you hear Bugner's pregame, little conference, and he's saying that Brent Burns isn't going to be shooting as much, and that's a design of the system. With this whole changeover with Bob Bugner being the head coach and Roy and Nabby and Reach, taking spots as assistant coaches, I think that a fresh voice outside of the organization is needed, and I really need, I really need to see some signs of life out of Brent Burns, man.
Yeah, and it's been a rough go. We'll get to him ending his drought. Sharknado, again, thank you for your donation. Really appreciate it. Big time. It's a huge donation, and we it goes to contribute to the show. EK65, that was disappointing. We need to create more for each other. MLS Fan 20, Nolan, good to see you in the chat as well for the next 3 days. They only need to be working on the power play.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because besides the miscue in the first period with that first goal, their defensive positioning was better, right? I think I did see Burns being a little bit more tentative, and I think that has kind of helped, mitigate his defensive issues. And so you can see that in their play. I've really liked Tim Heath's play of late. I feel like he has been making the right pinches at the right time, making the right decisions to go for the puck or keep it in. And so, I am seeing some signs of life around the defense, but boy, I mean, Brent Burns just looks lost, and it's like total systems failure here.
Yeah, and it's a tough one too because you get that loss feeling, and you're like, okay, what do I do? Do I go back to defend? Do I go back to playing offense?
Yeah.
And Toscano makes another point here. Burns had an amazing shot, creates opportunity at the net, but without Pavs, who else can clean up in front of the net? This is not a team right now. Mike Ricci has been working with guys about deflecting pucks as well. This is something that they've seen in practice, so you're probably going to see that. I know Hertl's been trying to be that tipper. He was trying to be that going into camp and everything. And speaking of Hertl, his first goal with a nice pass from Erik Karlsson, his 11th goal against Arizona, the most against any team. His 13th of the season to make it 1-1. I mean, Hertl, one of the guys that had a highlight of the night for sure for the Sharks.
Yeah, no, I really liked his play tonight. I felt that was a really good shot for him to score on. I think that's one of those shots that'll really give him some confidence. He picked his spot. Looks like the move to wing is allowing him to concentrate a little bit more on pure offense. And right now, that's what the Sharks need to do. I mean, they need goals.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Your mom, hockey mom, I would be more excited to see my Burnsy on an episode of Ancient Aliens. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead.
No, I mean, I am just thinking about the whole offensive system right now, and it looks like they have put a premium on doing on clamping down. And I think that's also an effect of playing Arizona as well. They still play that style, which is just very opportunistic, and it's very it's boring hockey, to be quite frank with you. But they play it to perfection, and they have for a long time. So where I was going with that, though, is that it did stifle some of their momentum going through the neutral zone. And the shots on goal were pretty low throughout the entire game, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it was 8-5 after one period of play. The Coyotes were dominating the faceoff circle, so it's like, oh my goodness, they couldn't win a draw to set up anything, and if they did, they just did not get anything out of it. I mean, overall, it was a low night on shots, and that's kind of quickly become the trend. Something we haven't seen, in the McClellan and DeBoer days. I mean, 8-5 after one period, 19-11 after two periods. I mean, Arizona only had 19 shots on goal tonight to the Sharks 28, which is great. I mean, great that you allowed only 19 shots, but you let in 3. That's the tough part, indeed. Second period.
Yeah, and it's we'll get into the second period goal, but I thought the goaltending looked okay.
Yeah, I thought they looked good. I thought it looked overall good. There were some key chances on breakaways, on power plays of all, no less. That Dell came up big, and right now it's a toss up. I mean, do you go? I don't know. I think I'm confused with everybody else right now with where this team is going. Andy, man, good evening to you, sir. Prior to tonight, the Sharks were on pace to give up 286 goals, the most for the franchise since 96-97. Defense win championships. Offense feeds great defense. Yeah, that 96-97 season, Al Sims was the coach. He lasted 1 year.
God.
Yeah,
that season.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And so we're talking about goals against here, and that goes back to the way that they're defending as a 5-man unit, which right now it's very scrambly in their own zone. I think I'm still continuing to see the breakdowns within their own zone. Failed clears. Tonight I saw LeBanc failed to clear at least 2 to 3 times. And so, the forwards have to help out on their own cause here too. It's not just all on the defense, right?
Right.
As much as we have been bagging on Brent Burns tonight, and as much as we have been, talking about just the ineptitude on the defensive spectrum, the forwards also have to play defense too. And it's not happening. And so, again, we go back to the things that Bugner wants to install, the things that are different. But it just seems to me that this whole setup is kind of stale. It feels stale.
And it's predictive, and that's the thing. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And here's the other thing, too. This is probably the first time in a while that they've had actually multiple days off. And to install an offense and defensive mechanism that Bugner wants to do with Ricci and Sommer, they need time to actually sit down, take a look at things, and have it. I think they're planning to have a day off tomorrow, and I don't blame you for that. So,
I don't have a Shark Santa hat. That's why, unfortunately.
Yeah, Sharknado with another super chat donation. Thank you very much to you for the Santa hat. Thank you very much. Why isn't the other guy? Well, I'll have to send Landi one for Christmas, and hopefully it gets there in time. So, second period now, kind of back and forth a little bit. Although I thought the Sharks kind of dictated the game early on in the second, but of course, Derek Stefan gets his 6th from Kraus and
that was
Hinostroza.
Yeah, that was just Oh boy, that was one of those ones that you think, man, just the bounces are not going for the Sharks right now. They looked fairly sorted out in their own defensive zone, and you get a bad bounce, and that ends up happening.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that's one of those fluky goals, and you can't really blame a lot on that. I think that's one of those puck luck kind of goals.
Yep.
So, in my mind, it's just right now it sucks as Sharks fans because we feel like the puck luck is compounding the issue as well.
Right.
And so it's like my adage has always been, you make your own breaks, right? You put yourself into a position of playing to your strengths as a team, playing physical. And when you do those things, when you have the strong forecheck, and when you don't play the back and forth rope-a-dope style, but you play a more heavy style, then you start to make your own breaks, especially because you're keeping the puck down further into their zone. And of course, right. Everybody wants to possess the puck, right? That's the thing with the possession numbers, which is kind of interesting, is that everybody wants to be a puck possession team. Everybody wants to have the puck. I don't think any team would say, oh, we'd rather, trade chances back and forth. All of them want to have possession of the puck, right? But I think what we're saying here is continuing to have that strong 2-man to 3-man forecheck where it's just a full press. And once you keep the puck in their end of the zone, you saw it tonight when we hemmed them in, the Sharks looked really good. I mean, the Sharks looked like they were kind of exerting their own physical presence. They weren't rushed to take shots, and that's what they're going to have to do now. They're going to have to play that kind of a style because you don't have a Joe Pavelski to kick it back out onto the point and look for a tip. So, yeah, it's got to evolve.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Landy. That it has to evolve. Things that didn't work, that worked, 4 or 5 years ago. You got a lot of new pieces from 4 or 5 years ago from that team that went to the Cup final. Now you have different ones that you need to find a way that gets it going as well. It's not always going to work with a shot at the point and tip, and I think they've started to play around with that a little bit more. So, LeBanc would take a check from Lawson Krause,
which, by the way, was in my opinion a late hit. It was dirty, and I don't think that there will be any kind of supplemental discipline, but those are the kinds of hits that you're trying to get rid of because those are concussion type hits.
Yep.
And he went immediately back to the dressing room for evaluation, and poor guy, he tried to gut it out. He tried to come back in the second period, but he looked kind of like Joe did when Joe got that bad concussion and kind of looked like the Bambi deer. It's just he looked concussed.
and he came back out to play, but he didn't play in the third period. And it's one of those plays where it hit that curved glass, and all I can think is if they hadn't put that curved glass in there, holy
Max
heck.
Max Pacioretty 2.0.
Yeah, it could have been really bad. So
that would have been a turnstile, right? I mean, that was what we used to call when they didn't have that curved glass. It was you're getting turnstile.
Yeah,
so.
and Bugner coming out with an update saying no update on LeBanc. Ferraro, who didn't play in this game due to an upper body injury, is day-to-day. That's why Jacob Middleton was called up from the Barracuda to play in tonight's game for this one. So you're down essentially 2 defensemen that you had during your nice run in November, and so it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. Andy Man going with, granted, not everything needs to be fixed as X's and O's, but this team can, and I would expect to be under a new coaching staff, and if the systems fail, in the systems they install. So,
yeah, and I think that all possibilities at this point should be on the table insofar as system play, insofar as, what are we going to do with Brent Burns? At this point, I think you've reached desperation mode where he needs to. Right now, he's not right, and I don't know if it's a confidence thing or if it's a physical ailment kind of thing. I wonder if maybe he's fighting some kind of hand injury or some kind of wrist. But, suffice it to say, he's a big dude. And I know that we all really hate this talking point, and it's hot dog is a sandwich 2.0.
Oh no.
But Brent, it might be time to put him at forward. You hate to do it because that's clearly a sign of clear desperation. But at this point, the Sharks are depleted up front. I mean, completely depleted up front.
Yeah.
You've lost Nyquist, Jonas Donskoy, and Pavelski, and right now, this team is needing something. They need some kind of spark up front, and there's no room to bring anybody in. So, yeah, I think anything and everything should be on the table right now. And no, it's not a sandwich. But
you know what it is, though? A reminder that we welcome those of you who were watching Brody and Curtis. Feel free to join the chat on the page or the app that you're watching us on the YouTube channel. And, of course, hit that subscribe button. It really goes a long way, and we really appreciate it immensely. So welcome those of you who are watching Brody and Curtis to this one. One of those crazy games. I mean, this is great. 71 watching and only 18 thumbs up. If you don't thumbs up, the Sharks will lose until January. Oh boy. And get those thumbs up quickly. I can't go. No, if we go like one win in December, I will lose my mind, and I'll be like, hey, why don't we just play in the Cow Palace at the oh jeez. Oh boy. William Vogel, looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking.
Oh yeah. For sure.
And just another Randy G. Are the Sharks the new we're a team meme in a few years? I hope not. Finishing off, Hertl's second goal of the game.
Just another beautiful snipe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
In Hertl, I mean, like Booger said post game, looks like he's back to form. And looks like he's starting to turn it up. 14 goals on the season, which is great. However, we talk about defensively, but we also need to talk about offensively here too. And I was compiling this during the game tonight. LeBanc, 1 goal in 14 games. Evander Kane, 2 goals in 16 games, and one of them was an empty netter. Marcus Sorensen, 1 goal in 11 games. He's now, and this was entering tonight, he's now no points in his last 6 games. I mean, the secondary scoring that this team was relying on over the last couple of years has quickly just gone away. And, of course, for LeBanc, he has been struggling by taking penalties. Obviously, it doesn't help that he's got his head. He had a head injury tonight, or at least, upper body. So it's a tough one. I'll ask you this one from Andy Man. Middleton, who replaces Burns if we put Burns to forward. How did you think he looked tonight? It is 8:51.
Well, I actually kind of wanted to get to that, and I was gonna wait till the end of the game to kind of go over the ice time distributions. But I don't think that he looked all that bad. You can still tell that he's trying to adjust to the game. I think that there is the makings of a player there, but I also think he's going to take some work too. So
sure.
So, I in that respect, I don't think that you necessarily put him there. I mean, what I would do, this is how I would deploy it in a perfect world. I would go EK65 with Brenden Dillon. You've got Tim Heed and Mark-Edward Vlasic. And then I would say Ferraro and Simic. I know that's a lefty-lefty, but at this point, I think, again, everything has to be on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you have 2 games before you have a holiday break, and it just happens to be the defending Stanley Cup champions who knocked you out in the Western Final, and you're currently your most hated rival. Not fun. It's not going to be a fun weekend, but it's capable. I mean, and honestly, if you get those 2 wins out of nowhere, and I don't want to say out of nowhere, but if you get those 2 wins, that would be a huge confidence boost to go into Christmas. So
yeah, no, I think that would be really, really big positives going into Christmas for sure. So, I think that they have definitely.
Oh, Sharknado again! Thank you for the donation. $6 donation. 6 for Burns' 6 shots on goal. Erik Landi is a hater. I don't know. No, he isn't a hater. He just crushes a lot. Come on now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love me some Brent Burns, right? I mean,
Right.
I want him to do well. I want the team to succeed. It's just really hard to pull the positives out right now, and especially because of the reason for changing over a new coach, and the woes continue. I also feel like there needs to be a microscope shifted now to the players. There is no other person to take the fall here insofar as accountability wise goes.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes to the players.
Yeah.
And
big time.
You've got Brent Burns making $8 million. He's a better player than this. We know that. We have seen it. And again, it's accountability. When your defense is making as much money as it does,
yeah,
it needs to produce. They need to basically be play drivers as if they're centers, right? I mean, and so you're looking at teams that you have to try and emulate throughout the league. I think you're trying to emulate what Nashville does, in the way in which they deploy the defensemen. They're really the only other comparable I can see with a similar set of defensemen. Maybe Carolina in the way that they play, because again, they're very defensive oriented insofar as having their difference makers on the back end, but they have to get this mix going.
And this is a talented mix. It's not like it's an entire Barracuda roster or the Ottawa Senators or anything. I mean, and Ottawa is competitive, for that matter. So third period, you have just a plethora of questionable penalties, and then there's some that weren't called. I mean, you have Chychrun that gets a cross-checking call. Sharks don't do anything. In fact, they give up a shorthanded chance, and Dell bails them out. You have Kane goes in for a cross-checking, and that's another thing. Kane has got to try to contain his emotions. He is a goal scorer, and 2 goals in 16 games, Landi, are not going to cut it. So,
yeah, no, it's just not. I mean, Evander Kane is paid as a difference-making forward. He is playing the role of tough guy, but that's not what he needs to be doing right now. He needs to be playing more like a Wayne Simmons in Philadelphia, not a Wayne Simmons in LA. You know what I mean? And when I'm talking Wayne Simmons in his prime,
right.
And not because of not because of just shifting from east to west, but also in just the similar kind of player they are, right? They're both
Right.
power forwards. They're both gritty. They're guys that are in your face and they mix it up. And Kane right now is unhinged insofar as he's undisciplined. I think he's still the league leader in PIMS, and he's so talented, and I think that's what's the most frustrating thing.
Right. That's the biggest thing, is that he's so talented, and we need him to be the goal scorer part, because let's be honest here, if he isn't, then we're in a heap of trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And so again, you look at the players that really need to step it up. Kevin LeBanc, I don't know what's going on with Kevin. Sorensen is just, he's in and out and in and out and is very enigmatic right now. Patrick Marleau, I mean, talk about a guy that needs to produce. Patrick Marleau needs to really look himself in the mirror and ask if he's one, if he's able to still compete at a high level, but two, if he's giving everything that he's got.
Yeah.
So I think again, it's just the mix is not right now.
Yep. You saw OEL, I guess, take a questionable elbow from Sorensen. He's like four cross checks, no problem. I mean, he elbow frickin' LeBanc last year and got away with it. He gets four cross checks, doesn't have anything happen to him. Couture gets tripped up and gets high stick, no call. Marleau gets tripped up, no call. And then probably the weakest face-off violations I've seen.
He didn't even close his hand on the puck.
I don't even think he
touched it.
Yeah, with his stick, while he had his glove on his stick.
Yeah, and so this is what really, really irritates me about the reffing right now. One, I think we're getting jobbed, and I don't care if somebody's going to call me out as a homer. I don't care if somebody's going to say, oh, well, this is a Shark-centric. No, that there is clearly still some kind of, I want to say, animosity towards the Sharks. I think it's twofold. I think one, it's they feel a little embarrassed for last year. And I think two, there's still that Evander Kane penalty tax that they're paying. And I want to know.
They got to get over that. I mean, obviously, if we're going to hold that much of a grudge on Evander Kane in the preseason, then we have major problems in the officiating for it. That's the ridiculous thing.
Yeah, and so,
but
I agree with you. I agree with you, Eric. I think it's garbage time from the refs, and I don't like the makeup calls, because then it starts to become, we're making up for things that we missed. Then you're like, okay, well, the penalty that I just took, where is the line of delineation between a penalty and not a penalty? It's just, if you're gonna go one way with a game, as a reffing crew, this is the way that I look at it. If you're gonna go with let the boys play, let them play. If you're gonna go with, well, we're gonna be holding the whistles close to the mouths tonight, and we're going to really call it by the book. Call the hooking as parallel to the ice every time, all the time. Same thing with if we're seeing different kinds of violations insofar as the helmet violation, or so far as the delay of game with the hand on the puck or whatever, then you go that way. But this model of game management is just I still don't understand it. I still don't understand it, Eric. And I've been watching hockey for 10 plus years.
Yeah, it's a little crazy to see. Michael Meyer with a super chat donation. Thank you very much. Honestly, the way the Sharks power play has looked, they might be trying to help us. Well, You have a face-off violation at 11:17. Didn't do anything. At 19:01, you have Lyubushkin playing without a helmet. And then 16 seconds later, you get a 5-on-3, and because you pull your goalie, it's a 6-on-3. And here, and I saw them earlier, so bring them back on the chat here. But I'm sorry, if you're going to be passy, on a 6-on-3 with 15 seconds left in the game where you're down by 1, and you don't even get a shot off on a 6-on-3? I am sorry, but you can blame Steve Spott all you want for what it was before. Now the Sharks are now 1 for 38 since Erik Karlsson scored a power play goal on November 16th against Detroit. 1 for 38. Shoot the damn puck. Throw pucks on net. Good things can happen. It's okay to shoot the puck. Let me say that again. It's okay to shoot the puck.
I think that this team is so scared to make a mistake. I think, Eric, honestly, if we're really looking at this objectively, logically, and honestly, the team is afraid to make a mistake. I think what they're afraid of is that high flying forward, that penalty kill, that we're continually seeing penalty kills stack up against the Sharks. They figured it out, right? You press Brent Burns or you press Erik Karlsson because they will make a mistake under quick circumstances. So that is the book on the Sharks power play right now. If you pressure the points consistently, you're going to make good things happen. Yep. So the Sharks basically, they're afraid. I think the Sharks are afraid of making a mistake by taking a shot, having it be blocked, going on the other way, on a 2-on-1. So how do you fix that? Well, first off, you have to either make a decision with Brent Burns, either play him on the wing on the power play and line him up in the OV spot and keep him there. Mm-hmm. You then have to ask, okay, can you have both a Kevin Labanc and an Erik Karlsson on the same power play? They play a very similar style insofar as where they are on the ice. But to me, this speaks of, again, not finding an identity without Joe Pavelski. It's the power play was so rooted through him. It was such a fixture that, that was the play that they played. And they were comfortable in their positioning where, Kuhre played off on the boards while Pavelski was as the bumper. Hertl played on the other wing, which allowed him to kind of post up and be the guy in front of the net. Then you had Burns basically shooting the puck. And then you tried to integrate Erik Karlsson into that, trying to make him kind of another playmaker back there. And or you have Labanc playing the same spot. So right now, Kuhre continually still wants to do his one move where he continually will take the puck at the hash mark, try to skate it down, taking the extra second to make his shot. But I think that the penalty killers are also cluing on that because that was a go-to move for a long time for him, and he's still continuing to do that. Yeah. You see also Kevin Labanc creep up from the blue line and kind of glide, waiting to take a slapper. So it's too predictable. They're using all the same moves. So, I think mixing up the personnel. So maybe going with a deployment of Evander Kane, Kuhre in the middle, and then if you want to do a Timo Meier with Brent Burns and Labanc, but basically these guys have played together for so long. I think that they just need different positioning on the ice. They need to really just reevaluate their play.
Here's an idea. Burnsy can be in front of the net, be that Tomas Holmstrom thing, And I'm seeing a lot of people mentioning in the chat, and I get your frustration about EK65. Um, I'm sorry, he's partly brought here to be on the power play. There's no reason not to bench one of the best offensive defensemen in the league. In this case, doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
and I'm not advocating for not playing your two best players at the same time. I think we're seeing that still in the chat, and that's not what I'm advocating for. It's trying to find the correct positioning for those two right-handers.
Right, and that's the problem. Uh, I mean, and we talk about how you're missing Pavelski. I'm sorry, I thought we scored 4 power play goals in 4 minutes and in 1 second without Pavelski being there. I mean, it's obvious that they can do something. Hertl can tip pucks. We saw that on the second goal against Vegas. Couture can get over to the other side and make stuff happen. You know, but but like you mentioned earlier, they need to move around. I saw it in the chat earlier. It looked like 5 pylons while EK65 is trying to find a way to pass. And of course, he's the one that gets the puck, so everybody's going to blame him. So at this point, I think it's almost like let's just trade Erik Karlsson and all our problems will be gone away, right? We'll have $11.5 million to do nothing and everything will go away, right? No, that's not going to happen. You have two Norris Trophy winning defensemen. You have two of the best offensive defensemen in the league on your team. You find a way to make things happen. 1 for 38 on the power play is unacceptable. And in Landi, they need to find something and they need to practice it. And I'm glad Bugner is taking responsibility for the power play being like crap, because this right here, they score a tying goal. They still have a power play going into overtime. They can win it right there. So
Yeah, no, and again, so how do you combat that? We come back to it again. How do you combat that, and how do you fix a power play? And I think it's honestly it's putting people out of position that they're accustomed to, because the team is continually falling back to its they're going to their comfort zones, right? I think that's really what it is. They have a favorite spot on the ice that they like to go to, and they're continually going to that spot. So I think that there's a fundamental incompatibility with the players playing with each other. And again, I just look back on that two dominant right shot defensemen on the back end. Again, that's why I want Burnsy to line up as a winger and just on the power play again, so that he can take his spot, kind of play the spot that Logan plays, and
does the like the Ovechkin move for his Steve spot special, as we used to call it.
Right.
That would be perfect. You put Logan maybe in the slot to deflect a one timer for when he doesn't shoot it. So there are options, and hopefully the Sharks have a couple of days to prepare for those options. So,
yeah, no, and so again, I think it's getting these guys out of their comfort zone, and I think that's honestly that's going to be the recipe to get them out of this funk.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, again, I think we're also seeing a lot of angst in the community because we're expecting results from different kinds of coaching. And look, Peter DeBoer's tentacles is still on this team, right? You still have elements of that. So they're not going to immediately change that. They're going to have to evolve. Right. But I think what the frustration is that we're running out of time for this thing to evolve. You can't take another 10 games to install a system. You have to be able to pick up points. You have to be able to stay with the pack in order to try to at least stay within striking distance of a wild card spot.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's what is the anxiety provoking thing is just that there isn't a lot of time left to figure this out. Yeah. I mean, I think maybe you can, maybe these next two games against Vegas and St. Louis are going to be games that that you already have to think about the losses in, and then you go into the break and you really work on the facets of installing the new system. Yeah, they're going to have to take a really hard look at the players' preferences on the ice and do a little bit of maybe advanced stats digging to figure out, okay, how can we complement these players instead of playing them on their on their weaknesses,
Right.
Because we're seeing it being exposed time and time again.
Yeah. Well, want to thank the 71 of you that are still enjoying this. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button down below. We appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up. Really appreciate everything. And don't forget to hit that bell. That bell will notify you when we go on the air. And, of course, follow us on our social media all over the place. It really does help. And we want to thank the 1,886 subscribers for being a part of this. We can't do this without you, and it's incredibly appreciative for that. So 28-19, the shots on goal in favor of San Jose. I mean, they got 28 shots. They allow only 19, which is great. Unfortunately, 3 go in. The game-winning goal goes off of Brenden Dillon from OEL. If I'm not mistaken, that ends a 25-game goalless drought for Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Just to make matters even worse, he gets the game-winning goal out of. So those cross checks, you can get away with it. Unfortunately, it hurts.
Erik, if this team was at, let's say, 1 or 2 games above 500 and they played this game, I don't think we would be angry. I don't think that we would be as frustrated because this had the linings of a good game.
Yep.
I mean, that's another thing that I think is really infuriating is that they did play well in their own zone. They did have good goaltending. They had the elements necessary to win. You get 2 fluky puck luck goals against. But I think the spotlight is just super magnified right now because every single thing that they do, right or wrong, is hyper magnified. And again, they're running out of time. And again, it goes back to power play issues, which has been a continual theme throughout the season. So, yes, we lost by 1. I think that they put a good effort in. I think that the system is forming. I think we're in maturation stage right now. And so the bones of a good game was there, but that you could say that was a good loss if you did have the extra 2 or 3 games above 500. You don't. Right now, every single point counts.
No, I mean, you're probably going to have to play 667 hockey in order to get back into this race. Sharknado asking, I donated, but why is this Santa Hat guy wearing a Coyotes jersey? I'm not wearing a Santa Hat Coyotes jersey. It's actually a holiday jersey. Let me show you really quick before we get to the reach around. And there you go. There's Rudolph with the hockey stick on there and such. So that's what you're seeing tonight. A little more festive. Kind of try to be a little more positive as we get into it. But, we got to do our best to, get into the holiday spirit because it's all we got right now. But is it time? I think we need one, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no, I need that release.
Yeah.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
So in the reach around tonight,
he's not gonna even challenge it anymore. He's just like, you know what? Today was a bad day.
It's a bad day. We need it. And guess what? It gets worse because the LA Kings beat the Boston Bruins 4-3 in overtime. Yeah, great, terrific. Yeah, one of the best teams in the league, and that happens. And guess what? The Kings are 33 points. They are so close to catching the Sharks right now. It's not even funny. Which is scary. In Toronto, San Ramon native Austin Matthews scores 2 goals to help the Maple Leafs beat the Buffalo Sabres 5-3 in that one. Jack Eichel extends his scoring streak with his 24th of the season in that one. In Tampa, the battle of the 92-93 expansion teams. Lightning win 4-3 in overtime. Cirelli with the game-winning goal in this one. On Long Island, boy howdy, did the Sharks break the Islanders. They were on such that great streak, and then they went into SoCal and actually ended their streak. And tonight, the Predators are all over the Islanders, 8-3 in this one. You name it. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, looks like 8 different goal scorers, or 7 different goal scorers for the Predators tonight in Long Island. Flyers win 4-1 over their Ducks. Thank God somebody beat a Pacific Division team finally. Carter Hart with the victory for the Flyers in that one. Detroit, they're at 9-24-3. I think they're going to be okay to avoid losing winning only 11 games all season. They lose 5-3 to Columbus Blue Jackets. Former Shark Gus Nyquist, yes, Gus Nyquist, I miss you so much. With an empty netter there in that one. The Hurricanes beat the Jets 6-3 in Winnipeg. Laine gets his 11th, is not enough. Aho with 2 goals. Jordan Stahl with 2 goals on that one. And Shevchenkov goes lacrosse again. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch that.
Go check that out. He beat Hellebuck, who hella sucked big time tonight on this one. Penguins 4-1 over the Flames. Jari looks like he's taken over for Matt Murray for this one. Evgeny Malkin with his 400th goal of his career. In Vancouver, yeah, not even to say that. Yeah, somebody did say Vancouver. I don't give a crap right now. Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens win 3-1. Shea Weber with his 11th of the season gets them going. Gaudette was the only goal scorer for the Canucks in this one. And, of course, to make matters even worse, the Golden Knights now are in second place in the Pacific Division thanks to a 3-2 victory over the Minnesota Wild. That's right, former Shark Alex Stalock's Minnesota Wild. Parisi with his 14th, not enough. Nosek with the game-winning goal gets it done. And, of course, the Sharks lose to the Desert Dogs 3-2. Ay. So where does that put? I mean, I know we're not even halfway through it, but things are starting to slip right now, and it's not looking good. Vegas finally has started to come on. They're now in second place with 43 points. Edmonton's at 42. The Desert Dogs lead 44. The Sharks are at 34 points. They're only 2 points. They're only 2 points out of last place, Landi, in the Pacific Division. The good news is they're only 6 points out of a wild card spot, but they really need to get going.
Yeah, they kind of look like me during the night before a final.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they have to play with a desperation that I don't think that the team has had to play with this kind of desperation ever as a franchise. I think that this is one of those moments in the franchise's history where it will pivot one of two ways, right? Mm-hmm. This will be the moment where they either say, okay, enough is enough. We got to get our shit together. We're a better team than this. And, continue to press forward and pull a St. Louis here. Or they can melt away and, basically fade into the retirement home, basically, right? I mean, like, I think what's really frustrating though is that we know the talent is there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I think
and that's the sickening part.
We know that Logan and Timo and Evander and Tomas and LeBanc. I mean, we know that these players are good. We know that they have a history of success.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to not be able to figure it out, and they don't even look like they're missing by, a hair. They're missing by a mile.
Yeah, they're 6 points out of a wild card spot. They're 2 points ahead of last place Anaheim in the Pacific. And you have St. Louis and Vegas back to back at home this weekend.
We'll talk about two statement games, right? This is you can either take it down, you can either take it lying down, or you can pull yourself off the mat.
This is a massive weekend for the Sharks, and at this point, they probably need to get both. They need to get at least 3 out of 4 points in order to get things going.
For sure.
Yeah. So, with that, Erik, your final thoughts on where the people can find you. Thank you for joining me on this Erik and Erik edition of After Dark.
Final thoughts. Well,
oh boy,
I think we are again at the precipice of the season going one of two ways, right? We can either pull it together and really show the league and really show, the hockey world that this team is different than what they all expect it to be.
Yep.
And expect it to be a team that falls away and that the window is shut, or they can create a new identity for themselves and really start to make their mark on the team. And I'm talking about Logan. I'm talking about Erik Karlsson. I'm talking about Tomas Hertl. I'm talking about Brent Burns. Those 4 players are the key to success. And so they need to ask themselves, is it time to fold up the tent? Or are you going to pull yourself up off the mat and start to play desperation hockey? So far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's Erik spelled the right way with a K, and Landi, Landi, on all the social media garbage. Just got back from Disneyland, so we have some pretty cool photos up. That was definitely nice to go and be not thinking about the Sharks for a few days.
Must have been nice. So appreciate that. In case you missed anything where you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You hit them all right there, and that's where you'll find us. If there's somebody we're missing, check us out there, as always. Of course, we will be back with you on Saturday. Yes, the Sharks do get some rest now. I think they get an off day tomorrow. I think they have a practice and then their holiday
break.
They get a little holiday party for that they have every year for those in need, and then Saturday against St. Louis, Sunday against Vegas. It's going to be a big one there. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at PuckGuy14. And that's where you'll find us Saturday following Sharks and Blues. We might have a special guest. We're working on it right now. But appreciate it as always. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on the social media. Hit it. Check out the most recent episode of Pucknologist. And until Saturday, keep it real, keep it deal. Keep it real, Teal. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you Saturday.